There are those who speak and those who listen. But every so often, someone shows up who does both with uncommon purpose and an open notebook in hand. Nicole Banks is a power connector, a woman whose network doesn't just span industries, it sparks movements. For more than 2 decades, she's solved problems others run from, built what others said couldn't be done, and highlighted the wisdom of giants, one page at a time. This is Nicole's Business Notebook, a curated circle of brilliance, a behind-the-scenes pass to the strategies, stories, and secrets shared by the experts she calls friends. It's not just a show, it's a blueprint for those bold enough to build. So settle in, because the notebook is open.
Hi, it's Nicole Banks with Nicole's Business Notebook. We're here today with Andi Hess. She is an amazing hypnotherapist and master of a lot of different things that she has going on. And so we are going to talk to her, see what she's doing, see what she's about, and actually figure out if hypnotherapy is actually a thing that could help business owners. So Andi, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I know a little bit about your history, but for those that don't know you, you started in academia and now you're doing something completely different. So first off, what were you doing in academia beforehand? And let's start there.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting to think about my journey. Definitely not where I intended to end up, right? Which I think is where all the best things ever come from. But I'll start a little bit before academia, actually, because I originally had a career in retail management, corporate training, and as a productivity consultant for Franklin Covey. I took that into academia with me and did a lot of organizational leadership, but also team facilitation, and in particular with my students, a lot of kind of transition coaching. So I was in charge of the freshman course that helped them transition from high school to college, as well as the capstone that really got them thinking about what they wanted to do after college and how they wanted to take that and go live a beautiful life. So when I decided to leave the academic environment, mostly because I had done what I wanted to do, and I really wanted to move on and allow myself to do something else, I thought, well, basically I've been doing career coaching, so I'll just go back to doing career coaching. I was a productivity consultant for Franklin Covey. I'd helped, mid-level managers kind of figure out how to do their jobs better, how to hit their goals. And that seemed to be where I was going to go. But as I started working with my first clients, what I realized was, okay, this problem you're having is not a strategy problem. It's not a tactics problem. It's like an internal fear problem. It's a anxiety problem. It's a rejection phobia problem. It's, let me hold your hand while you delete all the I'm sorry's from your email so that you can stand in your power, right? So I very quickly realized that in order to help those clients, we needed something else. And by chance, I had actually discovered self-hypnosis when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Found a cassette tape in a garage sale in the 80s. And at the time, things were really hard for me. I was about 10 years old and I didn't know it then, but undiagnosed ADHD, undiagnosed autism.
Same.
Yep. They didn't diagnose those things, especially not in girls, right? Mm-hmm. And I just knew things were hard. And I found this cassette tape in a garage sale, and it basically told me that I could reprogram my brain while I slept. And for 10-year-old me, that was like, oh my goodness, that is the laziest, most awesome thing I have ever heard in my life. I'm doing that, right? So I had listened to that tape every night until I was about 21, and then I lost it and had to wait for the internet to be invented again.
Yep.
But I began to offer these coaching clients, hey, the way I deal with this particular thing is through self-hypnosis. Do you want to maybe try a guided meditation, a little visualization around this? And the ones who said yes, just complete 180 in whatever it was we were working with. Some of them I'm still working with, 3 years later on what looks like a completely different life. And some of the ones who said no, I'm still working with on the same things. So that told me, you know what? I found this tool. Luckily, I found this as a child, and it had helped me so much. And I really wanted to know more about how to use it for people who had different problems than what I did. So being an academic, of course, I went back to school and I did a full 1-year diploma in clinical hypnotherapy with a clinical supervised internship. And I'm just so grateful for that because I had the opportunity to see so many different clients in really a lot of different specialties that I would not have chosen. And when I bring that into my clients now, it feels amazing because it's like you might come to me for your business, but those things that are stopping you from getting where you want with your business actually are those personal things. And so the fact that I've dealt with extreme anxiety means I know I can help you, with what's holding you back. And it's just the most amazing thing. Even though I know exactly how it works, it feels like magic every single time.
Amazing. So for the cynic,
Yes.
does hypnotherapy work?
Yes. With a caveat, actually. We have this saying, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So there's nothing magic about me, and there's nothing in particular about me that makes it work. If you want something and you're ready to work with your subconscious mind to readjust the programs, I kind of think of it like installing an app. Like if you buy a new computer and you want to write a paper and it doesn't have Word on it, you don't get mad at the computer, you install Word, right?
Right.
So if you're interested in doing that, if you're interested in making a change and you're open to working with your subconscious mind, then yes, it works. If you send me your husband to stop smoking because it bugs you, but he doesn't really want to stop smoking, there is no amount of hypnotherapy that is going to touch that. There's your subconscious mind's only job is to protect you. And so it's not going to do something you don't want to do. Even if part of you wants to do it, but part of you doesn't. That's what my job is actually, to know which story to tell your subconscious mind to get it from A to B. But it's not to do anything to you to make it work.
Interesting. So, obviously I know what you do and the whole thing, but I have some questions for myself that I think we'll just ask on camera and kind of get your response. So I have no inner monologue and I have aphantasia. So, for those that don't know what that is, if I were to say, picture an apple, you could see nothing. You could see a 2D representation. You could see a 3D representation. You could see the highlights, the shadows, the whole thing. And it's this range of what in your mind's eye you're able to picture. So for me, I hear nothing and I see nothing. So it's kind of blank up here. So could you help somebody like me with those challenges?
Absolutely. And I don't think they're challenges.
Well, that's great.
Right? Oh, yeah, maybe not. One of the first questions I ask, is, are you able to visualize something? If I ask you, think of a pink elephant, can you bring to mind a pink elephant? And if you can, it's a superpower, really. But if you can't, it doesn't make a difference. So this is one of the things that I love most about hypnotherapy is I promise you, you cannot do it wrong. There is not a single way you can fuck it up.
Love it.
Yeah, I know, right? Don't we love things like that? This is what 10-year-old me was thinking, right? Your ability to pay attention. So that's the other one I hear a lot. I can't stop my mind from wandering, right? It's kind of the opposite of what you were just saying of no inner monologue. Man, my inner monologue doesn't shut up. It thinks I need batteries right now, right? Doesn't matter. If you fall asleep, doesn't matter. If you can't remember anything, doesn't matter. If you're not even paying attention, doesn't matter. So hypnosis is this normal, natural state that we all go through multiple times a day, at the very least between sleep and wake. So as you're falling asleep and as you're waking up, you're going through hypnosis. Most of us go through hypnosis all day long. So have you ever driven home and not known how you got there?
For any legal reasons, this is not an answer to be held against me. Happens all the time. Yeah. I show up and I think it's like the ADD and just my brain wandering and that whole thing.
Exactly.
But I'm safe, I promise.
No, I know you're safe. That is what we call highway hypnosis or environmental hypnosis. That is the state of hypnosis. And so I love to use that example because most people have experienced it. And it really shows you, right? This is a state where your conscious mind is distracted. It is doing something else, and your subconscious mind is still paying attention to everything around you. That's why you don't die. That's why I know you're safe. Because if something happens that is out of the ordinary, your subconscious mind is going to bring you right back, right? That is hypnosis. The other time we often experience hypnosis is when we're watching a movie. So I'm going to ask, have you watched a movie?
Yes.
Awesome. Have you allowed yourself to enjoy the movie and forget you're sitting in a room?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's hypnosis.
Interesting.
Your conscious mind is distracted. It's not sitting here constantly going, this is not real. This is not real, right?
Yeah.
That's why it works. That's why it's entertaining. And so what we do is we use this normal, natural, relaxed state where your conscious mind is distracted. So guess what? It gets to be distracted while we're doing hypnosis for a therapeutic reason, right? Hypnotherapy, using this thing that your brain does in a way that helps you rather than just on default.
That's amazing. So what about the people that are scared they're going to cluck like a chicken?
Yep. Love this question, actually. I get to answer it a lot. And the reason I love this question is because it's not the answer you think you're going to get.
Okay.
Everybody who asks that expects me to tell them, oh, that's totally fake. Oh. Right?
Yeah.
It's not. And
bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. This is actually going to make you feel better, though. So people who come to me and say, oh my God, you're going to make me cluck like a chicken. What they're really talking about is that sounds like a loss of control, right? That sounds like I have zero control over my mind. That can't be real, right? Because that sounds super scary to me. So I want you to go ahead and think, and this is going to take you literally 2 seconds.
Okay.
You know someone. I want you to think of someone who always wants to be part of the story.
Okay.
Yep. Someone who literally, I'm going to take them to a party. We are coming home with a story, and they are going to make sure they're the center of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So the reason that it seems like loss of control to most people who want to ask that question is because you would never do that.
Right.
Your subconscious mind's only job is to protect you. It doesn't matter what I say. It's not going to do anything that's against your values. It's not going to do anything you feel is unsafe. It's not going to do anything. Even if you say you want it, but deep down inside, 7-year-old you doesn't want it, it's not going to do that. So what happens is there's an entire population of people whose subconscious mind knows, I want to be part of the story. If I'm going to go to a Vegas stage show, I damn well better come back with some videos that I can tell my friends about, right?
Right.
Like, I don't want to sit in the audience and just experience that. I want to be up there on stage so that I can talk about how I had no idea what I was doing. And here's the video,
Yep.
right? And so their subconscious mind allows that, right? Because it is consistent with what they want, which is to be part of the story. And that's why, right? Number one, we know very well how to pick the people that we bring up. And it's why most stage shows you'll see a few people, or you'll see the hypnotist do a few things and then send a few people back down. Because there's a little bit more kind of testing that we're doing to make sure you're the right kind of person. Because of course, there's also a whole group of people who loves to get up there to prove you wrong, right? But that is still completely consistent with the idea that there is no loss of control, that you can only be suggested to do something that's within your comfort and desire and value system. And it just seems scary to you because you are not that kind of person.
I am not the Price is Right type, all of that. So I can see that. So as a follow-up question, very serious, of course, have you ever made anybody cluck like a chicken?
That is what I've never been asked, and no, I've never done it.
Okay.
That's so funny. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to do continuing education on things like rapid inductions and stage hypnosis, because some of those techniques, the technique that you need to get someone down into a really calm state on stage where you have very little time and there's a lot going on, those can actually be very useful for things like emergency hypnosis. So I'll give you an example. I had a client, and one of the things that happens when you work with a hypnotherapist or even with one person's kind of recordings, your brain gets programmed to associate that with this relaxation state, right? Yeah. So after a little while, you'll hear my voice say, okay, take a deep breath. And immediately your brain will be like, we're done. So I had been working with this client for a really long time. Not a really long time, I guess, a couple months, right? But they were very much conditioned to working with me. And they came in for one of our regular sessions having a full body allergic reaction to a medication. So obviously they'd already gone to the doctor, called the pharmacist, they're on Benadryl or whatever, but they're complete misery, right? Because, this is not a fun state to be in. And I could just tell as she walked in, like she could barely even form a sentence because she was so overwhelmed with the pain and the itching and everything. And I was like, okay, no. We're not talking. We're not even going to have like the intro that we are going down. We're going to remove this, pain. We're going to remove the overload. And I was able to use a rapid induction technique to get her right down to that relaxed state, even in the midst of all of that, right? So there are times when that's really useful. Not only that, but if you ever come across an accident or something like that, where you need to get somebody very quickly into, it's the parasympathetic nervous system state. It's the rest and digest state. You need to bring them down into that quickly. There are techniques for that. But I have never been in a situation where I thought the best use of my time on a stage or with someone was to make them cluck like a chicken.
Awesome. I appreciate that. That makes sense. So, we talked about at the beginning, you're using hypnotherapy as a tool, as a larger sort of coaching. So who is your target audience? Who do you like to work with? If you could kind of have your perfect person, what would they look like? How would they be in their business? Where would they be? What stage would they be at?
Yeah. Love this question. So because of my background, right, I can do a lot of things, and I do still get requests sometimes that kind of come out of the blue for things like smoking, and golf is another big one, especially here in Arizona. Golf is a mental game. And actually, if you have an instructor, it is a phenomenal thing to do, hypnosis, to improve your golf game. And so those are always kind of fun because they're kind of one-offs, a little bit of a short-term thing. But I really believe that my mission in this life is to create a world of peace by helping people live into their vision and their passion. I think that you get a beautiful world when everybody is doing things that just light them up and make them the best, most happy version of themselves. And you get a world like this when people are going to 9-to-5 jobs that are soul sucking and make them just miserable, right? So I do mostly work with entrepreneurs, but a lot of that is people who are either at the very beginning, and it takes a lot to make that very first jump into entrepreneurship. And so, creating a support structure for your brain, for your subconscious mind, to get you through that jump and begin to see what's actually possible for you. And that it actually doesn't need to look like anybody else's does. It's not a matter of like, you must do this. And if you don't do this, you will not be successful. Right. I don't believe that. That's not going to light you up. Yeah. I believe that there's a way that we can use your subconscious mind to create that vision and get you there in a way that's just yours and nobody else's. So a lot of times too, though, that's entrepreneurs who have been trying it everybody else's way for a long time. And oh gosh, it breaks my heart when I get somebody. I just had a consultation with a client the other day, and, you know, all she's been told is, well, it just takes time. You just have to wait. You just have to keep going. And here we are, you know, 5 years later, and she's like, how long do I have to wait? Right? There's only so long you can do this. And it's like, well, what if you don't have to wait? What if you don't have to do it someone else's way? That's why you presumably started your own business, so that you could do it your way and not somebody else's way. So there's really a huge variety, but I would say the thing that lights me up the most is when somebody's like, it's time for me to figure out how to do this my way, how to do this the way that makes me live an everyday happy life. One of my mentors talks about, your dream is not an event, it's a routine. Mm-hmm. It's the way that you wake up every day and what's on your calendar on a random Tuesday, and the way that you get to, you know, commute home from work and enter the house. If that's the kind of transformation you're looking for, that's what lights me up.
No, I love that. So do you work with people for just like one or twice, or is it, you know, you working with somebody for the next 3 months? Do your packages vary? Like, how do people work with you?
Yeah, this has changed over time, actually. I really don't do single sessions anymore because of the way that what I just talked about I'm really interested in helping you learn how to live your vision. I've found that works better for your subconscious mind if you know that you're in. But I'm also, there's a huge variety of people and problems that they're dealing with. And some people might move through them really quickly, and some people might move through them really slowly. I would love to tell you how long I work with people, but most of the people I've worked with have not left me. So I can't tell you how long. I can tell you that it actually doesn't take that long to see big results, but you kind of get addicted to the results. So, for example, someone who comes to me with a lot of anxiety, you're going to see a major change in your anxiety levels after one session, another one after 2 sessions, right? That's going to be fairly quick, especially if you're using recordings and doing kind of the in-between stuff. But then now your anxieties calm down. How about we fix this other thing over here and this other thing over here? And oh my gosh, I've got to go visit my mother this weekend, and, you know, I'm going to get triggered in that. So let's deal with that for a second. So I mean, on one hand, it's kind of like, when are you done growing? But on the other hand, too, right, I have had clients who are like, I'm done with this for a little while. So I do have, you know, some group programs that I have an ongoing group that I just love, where you're creating a magazine of the you that you will be next year, that we meet every week. And I teach you how to use ChatGPT and Canva to make your vision like super crystal clear. Yeah, so I've got some fun stuff like that, and some ways to support people kind of after they're done with the deeper work. Yep. But most of my clients stay for a really long time. I'm talking years at this point. But I never have any contracts. It's, like I said, it's, you want to do this sort of work. There's nothing I can do to you if you don't want to. So,
well, especially when you're saying the subconscious, like, you're going to get what your brain's going to let you get. So
exactly.
I think that's amazing.
We work until there's not really anything else we need to work on.
I love that. And, you know, in addition to your consulting and hypnotherapist work, you're a speaker, you have the East Valley Chamber. Can you give us like a quick 30-second of all the other stuff that you do?
Yes. So currently I am finishing out my term on the board of directors for the National Association of Women Business Owners. That has been a phenomenal journey, and I'm so grateful for all that we've been able to do this last year as we built up a brand new event series. I will be with them through the end of June, and then I will be rolling off that board because, as you mentioned, in January we launched the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. Now, this is an organization that is an international organization, so we are part of a larger group, but we've never had a Phoenix chapter before, basically. So when that opportunity came my way, that was a full body yes. And that really is aligned with almost everything I've already said, right? Holistic practitioners are entrepreneurs. They are a very particular breed of entrepreneurs that I find oftentimes doesn't have the connection or the background in business. And so my work with NABO and some of these other organizations, as well as, of course, my, leadership professor stuff, I feel very strongly about bringing that kind of education and resources to this community that I think is very much right now that the time has come, right? You're seeing more interest in holistic modalities and ways of living. And so with the chamber, I really want to bring together holistic practitioners, but also anyone who works with small businesses, right? Holistic practitioners are small businesses. So, we've got people in our chamber who do insurance and sales training and bookkeeping and things like that because that fits. We're a chamber of commerce, right? So I'm really excited to see that grow. We've already grown far faster than I thought it was going to grow. So, very excited about that. Looking forward to as I roll off with NABO, getting the opportunity to spend a little bit more of my time growing that. But also having some challenges in terms of like space, because didn't expect us to be this big this quickly, right? So that's great. I do a lot of speaking, mostly because I did a lot of speaking as a professor. And I think it's the biggest way to help people see their potential. So what I was talking about that vision, and this came to mind when you asked if I'd ever made anybody cluck like a chicken. Every time I've had, 10 minutes on stage, the thought that goes through my mind is, how can I make sure that every person in this audience walks away with an experience that serves them? Right. How can they leave this event and go home today and actually be changed, actually be better? Clucking like a chicken doesn't probably accomplish that. So, I usually do a demo, but it's something else.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love, Andi, all the stuff that you have going on and, your authentic sort of presentation and, coming from academia into the entrepreneurial world to see how the other side fits. And just a huge fan of you and what you're doing. And, I am hopeful that my aphantasia, no interlog self might have some opportunities to work with you in the future. So thank you so much for taking the time to come down to Nicole's Business Notebook and share all of your expertise. And I look forward to hearing the story when you do have someone cluck like a chicken.
Now I'm going to have to think about that. But yeah, very much excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. So that's another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook. This week we had Andi Hess talking about all things hypnotherapy and academia and the whole bit. Stay tuned as we bring more business friends here to share what they're doing and how we're doing better business together. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook. Subscribe and follow for more tips, insider secrets, and hard-earned wisdom so that we can all do better business together. See you next time.